We go to the Supreme Court. Wow! Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, you know, Dementia Joe's DEI hire. Was asked a simple question in regards to the Voting Act of 1965 and discrimination against blacks.
Don't say it, do it!
She thought about it for a second.
No!
Let it roll around her head.
Stop it!
And she said, you know what? I consider blacks handicapped.
Stop it. Get some help.
You know, like the disabled.
Are you retarded?
Bro, what the fuck?
I'm Jasper Gonzo on this. Words of wisdom coming from the same judge who couldn't tell you what a woman is.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
Yeah.
How did we get here?
But it's what's next. Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Jasper Gonzo, what's next? Your daily dose, common sense, facts, and salt. Hope you guys are feeling good today on this day, of course, as we go into the weekend. It's always a good thing. Supreme Court. 9 justices, unelected black robes, you know, who interpret the Constitution to the best of their ability. Some hits, some misses. Talk about one of their greatest hits was burning of Roe v. Wade. But the justices themselves, you know, the more famous ones, like, you know, in the past, you had Scalia, and then, of course, recently Thomas and Alito, and, of course, you know, Chief Justice Roberts, you know. But then you got a few that are forgotten, you know, like, what's his name? What's her name? Kagan, and, you know, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Ketanji Brown Jackson, yes. The forgotten woman on the bench. Yes, she was the final pick of the draft. And of course, that was won by, you know, one Dementia Joe. And everybody calls her a DEI hire. Wow. You know, if you saw her confirmation hearing, yeah, that pretty much did that. Anyway, in a recent case, she spoke about discrimination against blacks in regards to the 1965 Voting Act. And she was asked a simple question. What do you think about the situations that we are dealing with Section 2 of it? She thought about it for a second, you know. She let it roll around in her head. She gathered up her thoughts, and she said, you know what? I consider blacks handicapped, you know, like the disabled. And this coming from the same woman who couldn't tell you what a woman is. Yeah. And here we go. This comes out of Breitbart. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson refers to black Americans as disabled or handicapped during a Supreme Court hearing. And of course, there she is, unless you know, if you happen to forget what she looks like. During a hearing at the Supreme Court of the United States, Scotus involved whether Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is unconstitutional. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson seemed to liken black Americans with disabilities, yes, comparing them to the handicapped. In a case known as Louisiana versus Calais, consider whether Louisiana's congressional map, which includes 2 majority black districts, violate the 15th Amendment and Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Plaintiffs in the case argued that the congressional map is unconstitutionally gerrymandered based on race. During the hearing, Justice Jackson seemed to contend that black American voters were equivalent to Americans with physical disabilities. Really? Quote, so going back to the discriminatory intent point, I guess I'm thinking of the fact that remedial action absent discriminatory intent is really not a new idea in the civil rights laws. In my kind of paradigmatic example is this something like the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, Jackson said. They're disabled. So those with actual physical disabilities don't have a problem voting, but blacks do. Okay. And of course, Ketanji Brown Jackson, this comes from Breitbart News, literally and directly compares black people to not electing their preferred candidates to handicapped people, aka disabled, people not being able to enter buildings. They don't have equal access to the voting system. They're disabled. But let's hear from her.
I guess I'm thinking of it, of the fact that remedial action absent discriminatory intent is really not a new idea in the civil rights laws. And my kind of paradigmatic example of this is something like the ADA. Congress passed the Americans with Disabilities Act against the backdrop of a world that was generally...
Is it me, or does she sound like she's just out of high school? Just saying.
Not accessible to people with disabilities. And so it was discriminatory in effect because these folks were not able to access these buildings. And it didn't matter whether the person who built the building or the person who owned the building intended for them to be exclusionary. That's irrelevant. Congress said the facilities have to be made equally open to people with disabilities if readily possible. I guess I don't understand why that's not what's happening here. The idea in Section 2 is that we are responding to current day manifestations of past and present decisions that disadvantage minorities and make it so that they don't have equal access to the voting system, right? They're disabled. In fact, we use the word disabled in Milligan. We say that's a way in which you see that these processes are not equally open.
There was a lot of, a lot of lawyer speak, a lot of judge speak, and of course, Justice Brown Jackson, Ketanji Brown Jackson, try to sound a lot, but use a lot of big words and try to sound a lot more smarter than she truly is. Again, let me go back to her confirmation hearing where she clearly was asked, what is a woman? I'm sorry, I'm not a biologist. Her exact words. And yet, she was asked a simple question regards the the 64 Voting Rights Act, Section 2, in regards to gerrymandering, and compared that since you can't vote for the person that you want to vote for, blacks are disabled, like the handicapped. It's the same thing. It is. It's the same thing. If a person doesn't have access to a building, with disabilities, oh, that's a problem. Oh, well, well, you can't vote for this person. Well, that's a problem. It's the same thing. And I wonder why Dementia Joe nominated her, because she's absolutely brilliant. Wow. Anyway, with that being said, I'm Jasper Gonzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more like this? Please have a comment below. Like it, share, subscribe to it. Hit that notification bell so you guys never miss a thing. Continue spreading the word about the show. Appreciate you guys watching as always. And we'll see you next time. Peace.